What meal from your childhood did you hate the most? My dad was not the cook. But when he had to, his fallback was taco salad. It was simple and it was good. But we had it so much. It became tedious and didn't want it anymore. I haven't had it in years and it's now the family joke. He has recently passed and what I wouldn't give for some taco salad. My mom used to make a meal that my dad supposedly loved. It was bean soup and it's exactly what you think it is. It's a bunch of cooked beans with minimal seasoning in water or broth and it was the meal equivalent of jury duty. My mom's shake and bake pork chops. Only the cheapest, most gristly cut, baked until it was devoid of any moisture. My jaw hurts just thinking about trying to chew it. It wasn't until my 30s that I ordered a pork chop at a restaurant and discovered pork chops can be juicy and delicious. Then I was reborn. Dry under-seasoned chicken breast. My mom used to make this pasta with a thick flour and cream-based sauce. I always felt so sick afterwards. I found out in my mid-20s that I'm celiac and lactose intolerant. Boiled vegetables, it was horrific. Meatloaf. My mom made the worst meatloaf. Then I tried making it myself after I was on my own and had a much better recipe. Now it's amazing. When my parents would make liver and onions, the smell alone was enough to make me hurl. My mom used to make SOS shit on a shingle all the time and it was salty as hell and gross. My dad made a pot roast every once in a while. Throw the roast into a crock pot, cover it with water, add zero seasoning, throw in a yellow onion and some carrots, then boil for 12 hours. It was like eating wet leather. Pork chops. Always dry and leathery, and I've never been a fan of many kinds of meat. My father once forced me to eat a container of butter BC. It came from a healthy farm or SM like that. I sobbed my way through the whole thing. Those little individual pot pies. They took forever in the oven and the filling stayed lava hot forever, always burned my mouth. The meat was pieces of gristle, the bottom was always soggy and the gravy had a super weird texture and no taste. My mother's goulash was over boiled macaroni, ground beef and plain unseasoned watery tomato sauce. My mom would make something she called teriyaki chicken. It was completely burnt and dry boneless skinless chicken breast, no seasoning, not even salt. And a small ramekin of soy sauce on the side. Don't forget the Flintstones vitamins. Spaghetti with sauce from a tin can, no meat, no cheese. I also can't eat ramen noodles anymore lol. One time I told my mom I wanted some rice pudding. She grabbed some for me at the store. I looked at it and realized I meant bread pudding. Anyway, decades late my mom still thinks I love rice pudding and gets it for me. Not a big fan of the stuff. Creamed eggs on toast was not great. It meant we were low on money. Hard-boiled eggs mashed up, flour and milk stirred all up, poured over the top of toast, vomiting face, vomiting face, vomiting face, vomiting face, vomiting face. Fried salmon patties and... My mom used canned salmon, added nothing, made a patty, dredged it in unseasoned cornmeal and pan-fried it. Now, I make salmon patties using Ina Garten's recipe for crab cakes, except I sub the crab for salmon and I'm allergic to crab, and they're delicious. Maybe not a whole meal but I hate lima beans. I'm 33 now and still can't eat them. Soft asparagus from a can. My dad made London broil every weekend for years. It's fine. My dad is an excellent cook and the sides were always well prepared as well. But every goddamn weekend is too much. A few times a summer. Sure. But this was all he'd ever cook on Saturday or Sunday. Liver. Split pea soup frightens me to this day. I always dreaded eating deviled eggs. The filling was too tangy and the egg whites were rubbery. Fried liver was a staple in my house, but I despised it. The taste and texture were unbearable. I hated when we had boiled okra. The slimy texture was unbearable. Green peppers stuffed with ground beef. My grandmother was not a great cook. Liver. Hated it with a passion and eventually I just flat out refused to eat it. As a kid, I hated eating veal cutlets. The meat was always tough and tasted strange to me. I wouldn't and still won't touch seafood, but it was never really forced upon me. I've gotta go with meatloaf. I think it was the ketchup glaze that ruined it. Liver. The stuff of nightmares. Turnips. Anything with helper in the name. Motherfucking tuna helper, that is some of the vilest shit ever concocted by man. I hope whomever though it was a great idea is being force-fed this war crime in the deepest levels of hell. Liver and onions. Also, my nana would put bean sprouts inside of hamburger meat. The texture would make me gag. Mrs. Paul's fish sticks. Hated them so much, I wouldn't eat any fish for years, many years. Now I'm all good, but I'll never eat frozen fish sticks again. One pan bacon wrapped chicken and rice. No seasoning. Basically plain semi-cooked bacon wrapped around chicken boiled in milk and squishy rice. Horrific. My dad loved making pickled beets, but I couldn't stand them. The vinegar smell was overpowering. I once seen my granddad eating tongue on a sandwich and he convinced me to try one. Solid nope. Don't do it. Coronado beef casserole, but only because I had eaten it while sick. I threw up that night, got a tortilla chip lodged in my sinuses, and had to try to sleep it off. Truly a traumatic experience for an 8-year-old, smiley face. Fried liver and onions. Soup with way too many carrots. Salisbury steaks due to how often we ate them when I was a kid. My grandma grew up in the Great Depression. She made these patties of ground liver and raisins dredged in flour. Just the smell. Cream of mushroom or chicken. My dad forced me to eat that stuff. I hated it. Meatloaf. Box mac and cheese with peas and tuna. I hated eating rice. No matter what it was served with, I hated it and would take 4 hours to eat. Which is a shame, as my mom did make an effort to make the food varied and she's a fantastic cook. I was just an annoying and fussy as a child. Now I can't go more than a week without eating rice. I'm 50 and I still hate tuna from a can. It's the only thing generally considered to be food that I won't eat. Frozen fish sticks and canned peas during Lent. It was the worst. Finally my mom realized that cheese pizza was a viable option. The best was the seafood feast from Captain D's. Cream of wheat it has the weirdest texture to me. Some crap my mom called moogly googly to make it seem fun. It was Kraft macaroni mixed with ground beef and canned la sur peas and canned carrots, vomiting face.